The room went quiet the moment Min-jae noticed something off. Not loud. Not obvious. Just a feeling. Like the air had shifted slightly, and only he could sense it. And instincts like his? They didn't whisper for no reason. He buried his wife with blood still on his hands. Not hers. The men who killed her. But revenge didn't bring her back. And it didn't stop the nightmares. Now Kang Min-jae only lives for one thing. His daughter. The only piece of his heart his enemies didn't take. So he built walls. Security. Surveillance. Control. No one gets close. No one gets in. No one, except her. A quiet ice cream seller with a soft smile. And a kindness that felt too real to question. Every Sunday his daughter ran to her. Laughing. Trusting. Calling her name like she belonged in their world. And for the first time since his wife died, Min-jae let his guard down. He didn't know. Every smile was calculated. Every moment was watched. And the woman he was slowly falling for was never sent to love him. She was sent to destroy him. Welcome back to Believe Tales. If you've been here before, you already know these stories don't just entertain, they stay with you. And if you're new here, this is where we explore stories of love, power, and betrayal, especially when different worlds collide. Today's story, it feels soft at first, almost like healing, but somewhere along the way, it turns into something else. Stay with me, because this one, it lingers. And if you feel connected to stories like this, you can join this growing family by subscribing. Seoul was cold that morning. Not harsh. Just enough to make people pull their coats a little tighter. The park, though, was quiet, private, almost untouched by the city. It was one of Min-jae's properties, hidden behind layers of ownership no one questioned. To outsiders it was peaceful. To him, it was control. Every camera placed with intention. Every vendor selected, screened, verified. No mistakes. Not after his wife. He didn't believe in coincidence anymore. Only patterns. Only threats. Amara didn't stand out. That was the point. Simple clothes. Calm presence. No unnecessary movement. Just another vendor behind a small ice cream stand. If you looked at her, really looked, you'd see nothing unusual. And that was exactly why she worked. Because the most dangerous people are the ones you never think to question. The first time his daughter noticed her, it was small. Appa, ice cream? Her voice carried something he hadn't heard in a while. Oh. Min-jae followed her gaze. And there she was, Amara. Already smiling before they reached her. Vanilla with caramel? She asked gently. The little girl froze for a second. Then her face lit up. You remember? Amara nodded softly. Like it wasn't a big deal. But it was. Because most people wouldn't notice it. But it mattered. Min-jae said nothing that day. He watched. The way Amara kept her distance. The way she didn't try to engage him. Didn't ask questions. Didn't linger. She served the ice cream, smiled at his daughter, and stepped back. Like she understood boundaries without being told. And that was rare. That night he had her checked. Of course he did. Background. Identity. Work history. Everything. And everything came back clean. Not just clean. Perfect. Too perfect. So he checked again. Different sources. Different eyes. Same result. Amara Okafor. No criminal ties. No hidden connections. Just a woman trying to survive in a foreign city. Weeks passed. Then months. And slowly, something shifted. His daughter started laughing again. Not the quiet, polite smile she gave him. Not the careful way she existed after her mother died. Real laughter. The kind that filled space. The kind that made people turn without knowing why. And every time, it traced back to her. Amara. Appa, can we go today? It became routine. Sunday afternoons. Same park. Same stand. Same smile waiting. Min-jae told himself it was safe. Controlled. Monitored. He even increased surveillance quietly. Watched Amara through cameras she never noticed. Tracked her movements outside the park. Nothing. No strange meetings. No unusual calls. No patterns that suggested danger. And that was the moment everything began to change. Not suddenly. Not loudly. Just quietly. Because trust doesn't announce itself. It settles in slowly. Until you forget what it felt like to question it. One afternoon his daughter ran ahead. Faster than usual. Amara. She called her name so freely. Like she belonged there. Like she belonged with them. Amara stepped forward quickly, catching her before she stumbled. Hey, careful, she whispered, brushing her hair back gently. And Min-jae saw it. Not the action. The feeling behind it. It wasn't forced. It wasn't rehearsed. It was real. And that confused him. Because real emotions weren't part of calculated plans. At least, that's what he believed. "Thank you," he said quietly. The first time he spoke directly to her. Amara looked up just for a moment, surprised. Then she nodded. "It's nothing." But her eyes didn't stay on his. She looked away too quickly. Like she didn't want him to see something. Most people wouldn't notice it, but it mattered. That night, Min-jae didn't order another check. He didn't question anything. For the first time in a long time, he let something exist without control. And that was the moment everything changed. Not when he trusted her. Not when his daughter laughed. But when he stopped questioning why. Somewhere far from that quiet park, a screen flickered to life. A live feed. Amara, smiling softly as she handed over ice cream. A voice spoke calmly. "Phase 1 is complete. Pause. Then, proceed." And just like that, the plan moved forward. Silent. Precise. Unfolding exactly as designed. And Min-jae? He had no idea that the only place he felt safe was already compromised. The first sign wasn't the attack. It was the silence before it. It had been building for weeks, so quietly that even someone like Min-jae almost missed it. Almost. Because something about Amara had changed. Not in a way you could point at. Not something you could explain. Just small things. Pauses that lasted a second too long. Smiles that didn't fully reach her eyes. Moments where she seemed present, but not really there. And if you've ever felt that shift in someone, you understand. At first he ignored it, because everything else still made sense. His daughter still ran to her. Still laughed. Still held her hand like it was the safest place in the world. And Amara. She never crossed the line. Never asked questions. Never stepped outside her role. Still careful. Still distant. Still perfect. But perfection again. It started to feel wrong. One afternoon, the sky hung low over the park. Clouds thick. Heavy. The kind of weather that made everything feel slower. Quieter. Min-jae stood a little further back than usual. Watching. Always watching. His daughter sat on the small bench beside the stand, swinging her legs gently. Amara handed her a cone, kneeling slightly. "You'll drop it if you keep moving like that," she said softly. "I won't," the girl smiled. "You said that last time." A small pause. Then laughter. Real laughter. Min-jae felt it again. That strange pull in his chest. Relief. The kind he didn't trust. Then Amara glanced up. Just for a second. Their eyes met. And something passed between them. Not words. Not even understanding. Just awareness. And she looked away first. Too quickly. Most people wouldn't notice it, but it mattered. That night, Min-jae broke his own rule. He didn't order a standard background check. He went deeper. Off the record. Quiet channels. The kind of investigation that didn't leave a trace. And for the first time, something didn't line up. It wasn't big. Just a delay in a timestamp. A minor inconsistency in an old record. Something so small most systems would ignore it. But Min-jae didn't. Because in his world, small mistakes didn't exist. Only hidden ones. He stared at the report longer than he needed to. Then closed it. Not because he was satisfied. But because he wasn't ready for what it might mean. And that was the moment everything started slipping. Because doubt, once it enters, doesn't leave quietly. The next Sunday felt normal. Too normal. His security team was in position. Every entry point covered. Every camera active. Everything exactly the way it should be. And yet, that feeling stayed. His daughter ran ahead again. Amara. Same excitement. Same joy. Same trust. She reached her, wrapped her arms around her without hesitation. And Amara held her. But this time, her grip was tighter. Not protective. Not gentle. Just tight. Like she didn't want to let go. Min-jae saw it. And something inside him shifted. "Are you okay?" he asked when he finally stepped closer. Amara nodded quickly. "Yes, I'm fine." Too quick. Too smooth. "You don't look fine." A small pause. The kind that stretches just enough to mean something. "I didn't sleep well," she said. And maybe that was true. But it didn't feel like the whole truth. His daughter tugged at her sleeve. "Can you walk with me?" Amara hesitated. Just for a second. Then she smiled again. "Okay." They walked a little further into the park. Not far. Still within sight. Still within security range. Still safe. At least, it looked that way. Min-jae watched them. His instincts louder now. Not screaming. But no longer quiet either. And then, it happened. Not the attack. Not yet. Something smaller. But just as important. One of his men approached him quietly. Sir, we're getting a slight delay on camera 3. Min-jae frowned. How long? Less than a second. It corrected itself. A second. Most people would ignore that. But he didn't. Because timing was everything. Check all feeds, he said. They're running clean now. Of course they were. Min-jae's eyes moved back to his daughter. To Amara. Still walking. Still talking softly. Still normal. Too normal. Then he noticed something else. Amara wasn't looking at his daughter anymore. She was looking ahead. At something. Or waiting. And that was the moment everything clicked. Not fully. Not clearly. But enough. He started moving. Fast. Bring her back, he said into his comms. His voice calm. Too calm. His daughter turned when she heard him. Appa. Confused. Innocent. Unaware. And Amara. She froze. Not for long. Just enough. But enough. Because in that moment, she knew. Min-jae saw it in her eyes. The truth. Not spoken. Not explained. But undeniable. And if you've ever looked at someone, and realized too late, that you never really knew them at all, you understand what that feels like. Come here, he called to his daughter. She hesitated. Just for a second. Then started running toward him. But she didn't make it. Because everything changed at once. A sharp sound. Not loud. Not chaotic. Just precise. Then another. And suddenly, the world that had been so controlled, so carefully built, started to break. Min-jae's hand moved instantly, pulling his daughter back. Eyes scanning. Calculating. Reacting. Security shifted. Voices cut through comms. Movement everywhere. And through all of it, he looked at her. Amara. Standing exactly where she shouldn't be. Not running. Not reacting. Just standing there. And that was the moment the truth stopped being a suspicion. And became something else entirely. Something irreversible. Because the trap was no longer coming. It was already here. The first gunshot didn't echo. It landed. Sure. Controlled. Final. And in that single moment, everything Min-jae had built collapsed. There was no chaos. No screaming. Just movement. Precise. Coordinated. Ruthless. Men in black moved through the park like they had rehearsed it 100 times. Because they had. Min-jae's hand tightened around his daughter's arm. Stay behind me. His voice was low. Steady. But his mind. Already racing ahead. Exits. Angles. Cover. Timing. He calculated everything in seconds. Because that's how he survived. But this time, something was different. His daughter pulled away. Not out of fear. Not out of panic. But instinct. Amara. She broke free. And ran. Straight toward her. And that was the moment Min-jae truly lost. Not when the guns were raised. Not when the system failed. But when his daughter chose her.
Oh my god, that's so emotional.
Chose the one person he didn't fully understand. No, he stepped forward, but stopped. Because moving blindly now meant death. Not just for him. For her. Amara dropped to her knees just as the child reached her. Wrapping her arms around her tightly. Too tightly. Like she was trying to hold on to something that was already slipping away. And up close, you could see it. Her hands were shaking. Not slightly. Violently. Stay down, she whispered to the girl. Her voice breaking. Don't look. Just stay with me. This wasn't part of the plan. Not anymore. Gunmen closed in. Steps measured. Weapons raised. No hesitation. Min-jae's eyes locked onto Amara. Searching. Not for confirmation. But for truth. And he found it. Not in her actions. Not in her words. But in her face. She didn't look like a villain. She looked like someone drowning. Someone who had realized, too late, that the line she crossed had no way back. And that was the moment everything changed. Because betrayal is one thing. But regret? Regret complicates everything. Why? His voice barely carried across the distance. Not loud. Not angry. Just heavy. Amara didn't answer immediately. She couldn't. Because how do you explain something like this? How do you put into words a choice you never really had? Instead, she looked down at the girl in her arms. then back at him. And for the first time, she didn't look away. "My brother," she whispered. 2 words, but they said everything. Min-jae didn't need more, because in his world, that was enough. Leverage, control, a pressure point. He exhaled slowly, not relief, not acceptance, just understanding. Cold, painful, clear. "They have him," she continued, her voice shaking. I tried to find another way." Her grip tightened around the child. "I didn't want this." And if you've ever been trapped in a situation where every choice hurts someone, you understand.
She never wanted all this, but life gave her no other option.
Min-jae closed his eyes for half a second, just enough to feel it. The weight of it all. The betrayal. The truth. The part of him that almost believed she was different. Then he opened them again. And the man she had come to know was gone. "Put her down," he said. Quiet. Final. Amara shook her head immediately. "No, if I do they already will." His voice didn't rise, but it cut through everything. Pause. Long enough to matter. Because deep down, she knew he was right. The gunman stepped closer, closing the distance, ending the moment. And then, everything moved at once. Min-jae surged forward, fast, precise, grabbing his daughter and pulling her away in one motion. Shots rang out. Louder now, closer, real. Amara flinched, falling back as the space between them shattered. Security returned fire. Chaos finally breaking through the controlled silence. Voices, movement, impact, everything at once. But even in that moment, Min-jae looked back, just once. And she was still there, on the ground, not running, not escaping, just sitting there, like she had already accepted the ending. And maybe she had. Because some choices don't come with survival, only consequence. The gunfire slowed, then stopped. The park fell into a strange silence, heavier than before. Bodies on the ground, smoke in the air, the illusion of control, gone. Min-jae held his daughter close, her face buried against him, safe, shaking, alive. That's all that mattered. That's all that was left. Amara was still breathing, barely, but alive. Security moved toward her, waiting for his command. Min-jae didn't speak immediately. He just looked at her. And in that look, there was no rage, no mercy, just something quieter, more complicated. "You should have told me," he said finally. Not accusing, not soft, just true. A tear slipped down her face. "I didn't think you'd believe me." And maybe she was right. Maybe he wouldn't have. Because in his world, trust was earned slowly, but destroyed instantly. He turned away, not because he didn't care, but because he did. And that was the problem. "Secure the area," he said, his voice back to what it used to be, cold, controlled, distant. As they carried her away, she didn't resist, didn't speak, didn't look back. And just like that, she was gone. And the cruelest part? This wasn't just an attack. It was a message, clear, precise, personal. "We didn't just reach you. We reached the only part of you that still felt human." That night, Min-jae didn't sleep. He stood by the window, watching a city that never really cared who survived. His daughter slept in the next room, safe, for now. And for the first time since his wife died, he understood something he had been avoiding. Walls don't protect you from pain. They just change where it comes from. Sometimes, love doesn't destroy you all at once. It slips in quietly, wears a familiar face, and leaves you questioning everything you thought you understood. If this story stayed with you, then you already feel it. That weight, that silence after everything ends. There are more stories like this. Stories that don't always give answers, but make you feel something real. You can stay with us, follow the journey if you want to keep exploring them. And tell me, what would you have done? If you were him, would you have pulled the trigger, or walked away? I'm here. I read your thoughts, and sometimes, they become part of the next story.
Thank you guys for watching, and I'll be right here waiting to read all your comments. Thank you so much.